Note, if you will, the extreme enlargement of the skull, the right upper limb, which is totally useless, the alarming curvature of the spine. Would you turn around, please?
Turn around, please.
The looseness of the skin and the varying fibrous tumors that cover 90% of the body.
The Elephant Man is a film that's based on a true story that's written and directed by David Lynch. So The Elephant Man is the film that won the latest subscriber poll, because for those of you guys who don't know yet, I'm starting to put out at least one poll a month for you guys to vote on, because I don't want y'all to feel left out, because I really do love y'all very, very much, and I appreciate y'all to the moon and back. So now on top of the Patreon polls that I put out every week, now there's going to be at least one subscriber poll every month that you guys are going to be able to vote on. So even if you can't become a $1 patron, you guys will still have some sort of voice on the channel and have some sort of power in deciding which films I review and watch. But anyway, The Elephant Man is a film that I recently picked up on one of my Criterion hauls. I've done 3 of those videos with Perry, so if you haven't checked those out, please check them out. But it's a film that I picked up because it's a David Lynch film that I haven't seen yet, and I've honestly heard nothing but great things about this film. And it's also one of his earlier films as well, so there is a lot about this film that has really intrigued me through time. It is also a film that I've just heard about for the longest time, before I even knew who David Lynch was, or before I was even really into film. And let me just say this about The Elephant Man right out of the gate. The Elephant Man is the least outrageous and artsy David Lynch film that I've seen. But it's something that I obviously expected going into it, because this is a film that, again, is based on a true story, based on an actual person. And it's a film that I heard got a lot of Academy Awards, so at least nominated for Academy Awards. I don't think it won a single one, but it got nominated for pretty much everything in the book. Didn't win any of them, which is kind of fucked up. But, so yeah, like, I knew that going into this, so I kind of knew that this wasn't going to be like, Inland Empire or Mulholland Drive level of Lynch type shit. But either way, I think that this was an excellent sweet spot for Lynch to kind of showcase his ability without, like, really letting himself go and, doing his outrageous and really creative and unique dark Lynch stuff. But I think it's a sweet spot for him because the foundation of this film revolves around something that is a really dark concept and a really harsh reality that I think David Lynch really explored well and is obviously like his cup of tea. And obviously Lynch is somebody who loves exploring these dark and harsh realities of life. And this is why this film, I think, works so well and is directed wonderfully, because you have the kind of normal, standard, streamlined story structure that you would expect a film that got loads of Academy Award nominations to have. But David Lynch found a way to also sprinkle in that really surreal and creative sequences where he just utilizes imagery to his advantage and also sound design. And it just blends wonderfully with this film because it doesn't feel forced or really out of left field, because it just feels a part of this film's aura and atmosphere. And a lot of that is, again, thanks to David Lynch being able to utilize this concept and establish this really dark and surreal world the way that he does. There were many sequences in this film that I truly loved and appreciated, and had those moments where it was obviously like, this is the David Lynch that we all have come to love. And even like the opening sequence was clearly like, I was like, wow, this is totally like the way David Lynch would direct something, because it was able to capture the dark aspect of this film. It was able to immediately, right out of the gate, establish a thematic concept to the film. But even the more basic and standard aspects of this film, even those aspects were directed in a way that you could tell if it were just directed by some Hollywood person, they wouldn't be able to truly capture the emotion and the essence of the scene and the context. Like, for instance, a scene where Anthony Hopkins' character, who is brilliant in this film, by the way, when he sees the Elephant Man for the first time, just the way that Lynch was able to capture the hypnotic and existential feeling of Anthony Hopkins' character during that scene, he encapsulated that moment perfectly, and I wouldn't change anything about it. And also, thanks to the brilliant, subtle acting from Anthony Hopkins, he was able to deliver a great performance in that scene in particular, but really, he's great this entire film. John Hurt, who plays the Elephant Man himself, he's also quite incredible in this film, and just the amount of makeup and costume design that he would have to go through every single day is quite staggering, and it takes so much dedication to even play this character, and he was really convincing, and I think really captured the unfortunate but complex emotions of the Elephant Man. Correction, he is not the Elephant Man. His name is John Merrick, and he is a human being. And obviously this film is able to demonstrate that point very well, as it kind of shows how he's treated as this kind of freak show spectacle. Essentially, his entire life, he has to deal with just being this grotesque spectacle to everybody around him. And I think the film was able to kind of capture that type of feeling and emotion and just how disastrous and heartbreaking of a life that would be. And that is probably one of the biggest reasons why the Academy kind of ate this film up. I mean, they didn't eat up that much because it didn't win anything. It just got nominated for a bunch of shit. Which is kind of, again, as I mentioned, kind of messed up because John Hurt, I think, should have won for Best Actor. And, I mean, possibly even David Lynch winning for Best Director. Even for, like, makeup and costume design, I mean, arguably that should have probably won, too. But they probably nominated this film like crazy because it does kind of target that kind of Oscar baity type shit that the Academy just will eat up on sight, which is just tackling the kind of handicapped kind of character that is revealed throughout the film to have a complex humanity to him. And for me, that kind of branches off into one of the smaller issues that I do have with the film, is that I feel like in terms of the writing, it can get a little bit more on the cheesy side. And there are moments that, like, just the way it was written and what characters kind of had to say in certain moments kind of felt a bit, you know, like it was reaching for that kind of Oscar bait type of moment. But I think even those moments were directed in the best possible way that you could direct it. And even those moments that were even slightly cheesy, I still felt like some genuine emotion out of them. And there are some really heartfelt and heartbreaking moments in this movie, regardless of that. And I think this film, again, just demonstrates very well the type of humanity that John Merrick has and how it can instantly affect the people around him. And I really admire the ending to this film as well because, again, it kind of has that standard type of ending, but with that nice, surreal David Lynch touch to it. David Lynch essentially turned a film that could have just been shameless Oscar bait and turned it into an incredibly unique, creative, existential, and human type of film where you feel genuine emotion and the themes are genuinely demonstrated in the best way that you possibly could through its imagery and also to the context. And I think that this is a pretty great film. So I'm going to give The Elephant Man a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, honestly, I think if I was desperately trying to get somebody into David Lynch and to kind of just smooth them in, I would probably show them The Elephant Man first and then, you know, eventually kind of smooth in maybe Blue Velvet and then eventually Mulholland Drive. Even though Mulholland Drive was the first Lynch film that I've ever seen and I really loved it, even though I was vastly perplexed by it when it came to the conclusion of it. But I wouldn't want to scare anybody off immediately from David Lynch by recommending Mulholland Drive first, so I would probably recommend The Elephant Man and then eventually work your way up to like Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire and stuff like that. But either way, I think that this was a pretty great film, and I think it at least should have won a few Academy Awards. By the way, I forgot to say this, but I guess it kind of goes without saying, it's a wonderfully shot film. I'm pretty sure you can tell just by that wallpaper that this film has some brilliantly framed shots, that even the shot itself has a lot to say. But either way, that's all I got to say about The Elephant Man. I have a scene analysis on Antichrist and Irreversible. If you haven't checked those out, please do, unless you haven't seen the films. So in that case, check out the films and then watch my analysis videos on them. But either way, I hope you really enjoy what I had to say about The Elephant Man. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it amongst your friends. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to be updated on more film-related content.